All right, kids, we're going to read section 2 of India called Origins of Hinduism. The main ideas are Indian society divided into distinct groups under the Aryans. We read about the Aryans in this first section, the Aryans and the Harappans. Number 2, the Aryans practice a religion known as Brahmanism. Number 3, Hinduism developed out of Brahmanism and influences from other cultures. 4, the, the Jains, I believe that's pronounced Jains, reacted to Hinduism by breaking away to form their own religion. And the big idea is Hinduism, the largest religion in India today, developed out of the ancient Indian beliefs and practices. Okay, some key terms you're going to learn are the caste system, Hinduism, reincarnation, karma, Jainism, and nonviolence. Okay, so let's go to if you were there. Your family are skillful weavers who made beautiful cotton cloth. You belong to the class in Aryan society who are traders, farmers, and craftspeople. Often the Raja of your town leads the warriors into battle. You admire their bravery, but know you can never be one of them. To be an Aryan warrior, you must be born into that noble class. Instead, you have your own duty to carry out. How do you feel about remaining a weaver? So, what you guys are going to read about this section in this section is something called the caste system, and we're gonna read about it. But it's a system where you were pretty much born into something, like you were born into a job, you were born into a class of people, and you can't just decide you don't want to be in that class. Okay, so let's go to building background. Okay, as the Aryans moved into India, they developed a strict system of social classes. As the Aryans' influence spread through India, so did their class system. Before long, this class system was a key part of Indian society. Indian society divides. As Aryan society became more complex, their society became divided into groups. For the most part, these groups were organized by people's occupations or jobs. Strict rules developed about how people of different groups could interact. As time passed, these rules became stricter and became central to Indian society. The Varnas. According to the Vedas, there were four main Varnas or social divisions in Aryan society. These Varnas were the Brahmins or priests, the Kshatriyas or rulers and warriors, the Vishyas or farmers, craftspeople, and traders, and the Sudras who were laborers and non Aryans. Okay, the Brahmins were seen as the highest ranking because they performed rituals for the gods. They gave the Brahmins great influence over other Varnas. So these are the Varnas. These four right here. This is how society was developed, or pretty much broken up into these four sets of people. Okay. Um, it says the Brahmins were seen as the highest ranking because they performed rituals for the gods. This gave the Brahmins great influence over the other Varnas. So before I read on, I just want to show you like this is a picture. So this is the Brahmins. These were the priests. They were the so like in Mesopotamia we read about and Egypt, to an extent we read about the social hierarchy. And this is kind of the social hierarchy of India. The Brahmins, okay, on top you have the Kshatriyas, the rulers and the warriors, the Vishyas, the farmers, craftspeople and traders, and then you had the Sudras, there was the workers and the servants. Okay, the caste system is very important. Okay, as the rules of interaction between Varnas got stricter, the Aryan social order became more complex. In time, each of the four Varnas in Aryan society was further divided into many castes or groups. This caste system divided Indian society into groups based on a person's birth, wealth, or occupation. At one time, some 3,000 separate castes existed in India. The caste to which a person belonged determined his or her place in society. However, this ordering was by no means permanent. Over time, individual castes gained or lost favor in society as caste members gained wealth or power. On rare occasions, people could change caste. The caste rules. To keep their classes distinct, the Aryans developed sutras or guides which listed all the rules for the caste system. For example, people were not allowed to marry anyone from a different class. It was even forbidden for people from one class to eat with people from another. People who broke the caste rules could be banned from their homes and their castes, which would make them untouchables. Because of these rules, people spent almost all their time with others in their same class. Okay, moving to the next part. Okay, All right, so now we're going to talk about Brahmanism. So the Brahmins were the priests. So there's going to be some somewhat confusing terms here. There's um, there's going to be the Brahmins, the priest. There's going to be Brahmanism, which is a religion, um, and then there's going to be Brahma, which is this god Brahma. Okay, and there's also going to be something called a universal spirit called Brahman or the man. Okay, so let me just before I go into Brahmanism, um, let me just well, no, that's okay. I'll go over here. All right, let's jump into the Vedas. Okay, so the Vedas, Aryan religion was based on the Vedas. There are four Vedas, each containing sacred texts. The oldest of the Vedas, the Rig Veda, was probably compiled in the second millennium BC. It includes hymns of praise to many deities or gods. This passage, for example, is the opening of a hymn praising Indra, a deity of the sky and war. It says, "The one who is first and possessed of wisdom when born, the god who strove to protect the gods with strength, the one before whose force the two worlds were afraid of because of the greatness of his virility. He, O people, is Indra." So the Vedic texts, over the centuries, Aryan Brahmins wrote down their thoughts about the Vedas. In time, these thoughts were compiled into a collection called the Vedic texts. One collection of the Vedic texts describes Aryan religious rituals. For example, it describes how sacrifices should be performed. Priests placed animals, food, or drinks to be sacrificed in a fire. The Aryans believed that the fire would carry these offerings to the deities. A second collection of Vedic texts describes secret rituals that only certain people could perform. In fact, the rituals were so secret that they had to be done in the forest far from other people. The final group of Vedic texts are the Upanishads, most of which were written about 600 BC. These writings are reflections of the Vedas by religious students and teachers. Okay, so I showed you Brahma on the top of your page, and there's Shiva, the destroyer, okay, and then Vishnu. So they're all part of this one universal God all around us called Brahman, okay, or Brahmin, okay. So M-I-N, Brahmins are the priests, but Brahman is like this universal God. Okay. So now, because of Brahmanism, that developed into something called Hinduism. Let me just go back now, sorry, on here. So these are the major beliefs of Hinduism. These little quick facts charts are really good because they kind of sum up the main ideas of this section in a very brief way that's easy to understand. So this is kind of what you need to know. A universal spirit called Brahman created the universe and everything in it. Everything in the world is just a part of Brahman. Every person has a soul or Atman that will eventually join with Brahman. People's souls are reincarnated many times before they can join with Brahman. And a person's karma affects how he or she will be reincarnated. So you might be familiar with a couple of these terms, such as karma or reincarnation. And so these terms came from Hinduism. Okay, so that's something that a lot of people may believe today, and but they did come from Hinduism. All right, so let's scroll to how Hinduism develops. So it says Hinduism develops. The Vedas, the Upanishads, and other Vedic texts remain the basis of Indian religion for centuries. Eventually, however, the ideas of these sacred texts began to blend with ideas from other cultures. People from Persia and other kingdoms in Central Asia, for example, brought their ideas to India. In time, this blending of ideas created a religion called Hinduism, the largest religion in India today. Okay, Hindu beliefs. The Hindus believe in many deities or gods. Among them are three major deities: Brahma the creator, Shiva the destroyer, and Vishnu the preserver. At the same time, however, Hindus believe that each deity is part of a single universal spirit called Brahman. They believe that Brahman created the world and preserves it. Deities like Brahma, Shiva, and Vishnu represent different aspects of Brahman. In fact, Hindus believe that everything in the world is part of Brahman. Okay, so that's something they believe. They believe everything in the world is part of Brahman. So you got to know that. Okay, now let's go to sort of the reincarnation part of it. This is what Hindus believe. Okay, according to Hindu teachings, everyone has a soul or Atman inside them. This soul holds the person's personality, the qualities that make them who they are. Hindus believe that a person's ultimate goal should be to reunite that soul with Brahman, the universal spirit. Hindus believe that their souls will eventually join Brahman because the world we live in is an illusion. Brahman is the only reality. The Upanishads taught that people must try to see through the illusion of the world. Since it's hard to see through illusions, it could take several lifetimes. That is why Hindus believe that souls are born and reborn many times, each time in a new body. This process of rebirth is called reincarnation. Okay, so they believe that everyone has a soul. Okay, and the goal is for everyone's soul to reunite with this spirit called Brahman. But you can't always do it, or usually can't do it in your first lifetime. So you like in a body, so when your soul when a person dies, their soul is reincarnated into another body, and that body has to live a lifetime. And depending on how they live their life will depend on if their soul can reunite with Brahman. Okay, but they may have to die many times. Now somebody may be thinking, well, whose body are they reborn into? Okay, and that's where the caste system comes into place. So let me explain this part. Okay, it says according to the national Hindu view of reincarnation, a person who has died is reborn in a new physical form. The type of form depends on his or her karma, the effects that good or bad actions have on a person's soul. Evil actions during one's life will build bad karma. A person with bad karma will be born into a lower caste or life form. So let me just stop there. So you guys have heard of karma, like if you do good or bad things, there's good or bad karma. So if you live a good life, when you die, this is what they believe, your soul will be reunited into a body, hopefully a high caste. Okay, because the castes are what kept people in line. If you were in a high caste, you were closer to reuniting with Brahman. Okay, but if you did bad things, you were reborn into a lower caste, or even a lower life form, such like a pig or a bug or something like that. Your soul wouldn't be in a person. Okay, so if you do bad things, you will be born into a lower caste. Okay, so they thought people in lower castes must have done bad things. People in higher castes must have lived good lives, according to them. All right, moving on. It says, in contrast, good actions build good karma. People with good karma are born into a higher caste in their next lives. In time, good karma will bring salvation or freedom from life's worries and the cycle of rebirth. This salvation is called moksha. Hinduism taught that each person has a duty to accept his or her place in the world without complaint. This is called obeying one's dharma. People could build good karma by fulfilling the duties required of their specific caste. Through reincarnation, Hinduism offered rewards to those who lived good lives. Even untouchables could be reborn into a higher caste. Hinduism was popular at all levels of Hindu society through all four varnas. By teaching people to accept their places in life, Hinduism helped preserve the caste system in India. So think about it this way. Okay, you're trying to reach salvation. Okay, so freedom from life's worries and not being reborn anymore, but you have to accept your place without complaining about it. So that's why people, if they're in a low caste, they know they can't complain about it. You have to obey that. Okay, and that's called your dharma. Like that's your place in life. You can't complain about it. Okay, maybe when you die in the next life, hopefully you will be reborn into a higher caste. That's kind of the way that the thought goes. Okay. All right, moving on. There's a part on nonviolence. I'm not going to read that, but it talks about just a tradition of nonviolence. There's Gandhi, Martin Luther King, and Cesar Chavez. Okay, so the Jains react to Hinduism. So this is just another sort of people that sort of broke off from Hinduism. We're going to talk about others in the future, but it just said this is one group that broke off. It says although Hinduism was widely followed in India, not everyone agreed with its beliefs. Some unsatisfied people and groups looked for new religious ideas. One such was the Jains, believers in a religion called Jainism. Jainism was based on the teachings of a man named Mahavira. Born into the Kshatra Varna around 599 BC, he was unhappy with the control of religion by the Brahmins, whom he thought put too much emphasis on rituals. Mahavira gave up his life of luxury, became a monk, and established the principles of Jainism. The Giants try to live by four principles: injure no life, tell the truth, do not steal, and own no property. In their efforts uh, not to injure anyone or anything, the Giants practice nonviolence, or the avoidance of violent actions. The Sanskrit word for this nonviolence is ahimsa. Many Hindus also practice ahimsa. The Giants' emphasis on nonviolence comes from their belief that everything is alive and part of the cycle of rebirth. Giants are very serious about not injuring or killing any creature, humans, animals, insects, or even plants. They do not believe in animal sacrifice like the ones the ancient Brahmins performed. Because they don't want to hurt living creatures, giants are vegetarians. They don't eat any food that comes from animals. So, I guess you have to injure some plants because they're vegetarians. But anyway, so that's the last group. That's the last group that this section is about. Okay, so go ahead and now you're going to, can, hopefully you're going to complete this, and then the next one we'll be talking about Buddhism.